Hi, my name is Krishna Akumalla. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We already discussed about illustration 1 and illustration 2 from Institute material. Those illustration was 1 was talking about one-sided entries, and illustration 2 we discussed about complete entry, where we could see both debit and credits are being posted. Mainly because those errors are being impacting multiple accounts, hence complete entry is required. Similar way, in illustration 3 also helps us in understanding how to rectify errors impacting multiple accounts, right? So how do we rectify those kind of errors is what we are going to learn today. So without wasting much time, let us get into illustration 3 and start working on solution, right? Okay. Okay guys, let us get into the problem now. We are going to talk about illustration 3 today. What is this illustration 3? It says give journal entries to rectify the following. A purchase of goods from Ram amounting to 150 has been wrongly entered through the sales book. Very important point guys. A purchase of goods from Ram. When we purchase goods, it has to be routed through purchase book. Do you agree, disagree? It has to be routed through purchase book. But what did they say? Wrongly entered through sales book. It has been entered through sales book. That means, let me explain like this. Let us say this is the sales book. Sales book. Okay. Here, they have written as RAM and 150. Where they are supposed to write? They are supposed to write in purchase book. This is purchase book. Here they have to write RAM 150. This is the right one. But where did they write? They have written this in sales book as RAM 150. From RAM they purchased. Sorry, they as if they sold goods to RAM. They have written here, but they are supposed to record this in purchase book as if these goods were purchased from RAM. So this is the right one. This is the wrong one. So what is the impact? Instead of writing in purchase book, if this is written in sales book, how the impact is going to be? That is what I'm going to explain. Once again, I'm telling you guys, you have to be very clear on this topic. He said he purchased goods from Ram, but it is supposed to be recorded in purchase book, but they recorded in sales book. That is what the problem is. Instead of writing in purchase book, they have written in sales book. How the impact is going to be, that I'm going to explain now. Let me erase this and explain in detail. Okay. Now, let us say this is the sales book, right? This is sales book. In this sales book, they have written as RAM 150. This is wrong, but this is what they have written. Since this is incorrectly written, how the impact would have been, that I'm going to explain to you now. Since it is written in sales book, it would have gone to sales account. Sales account, we would have written this as by RAM 150. What was the entry? Entry wise, if you look at what would have been the entry, RAM account debit to sales account. This is how incorrectly it has been recorded. Right? So, if it is wrongly entered in sales book, it would have gone to sales account credit side, incorrect. And it also would have gone to RAM account in debit side. It is also gone to RAM account by debit side. Why? Because it is entered in sales book. From sales book, it will go to RAM account. It will also go to sales account. Yes, this has to be very, very carefully listened to you. Since this entry is incorrectly entered in sales book, how the impact would have been? Impact would have been sales account would have been credited with 150 because it is entered in sales book. Also, it would have been impacted ROM account. Instead of credit, it got impacted in debit. Instead of credit, it got impacted in debit. This is the wrong entry. This is the wrong entry. So how do we record this? I'll explain this in entry wise right now. Okay. Let me erase this and explain to you entry wise. So as soon as this entry got posted, incorrect entry would have posted like this: ROM account debit to sales account 150, 150. This is the wrong entry. This is the wrong entry. Are you clear now? Now, what would have been the correct entry? What would have been the correct entry? This has been purchased, right? When we purchase goods, what would have been the entry we would have posted? We would have debited purchases account. Purchases account debit 150 and we would have credited ROM account 150. Because we purchased goods from ROM, right? So this is the correct entry. So this is correct entry. Right entry. This is the correct entry. Now we need to prepare the rectifying entry. We need to prepare the rectifying entry. So I already told you in my previous video, whenever there is an error happen, you need to think in three different ways. First, you need to identify what is that wrong entry posted. Then what would have been the correct entry. And then based on these two, you can post a rectification entry. That is what is we discussed in our previous video. Now, what is that we need to correctly put? This is we need to follow the correct entry. Take correct entry as the base. Purchase account is the right debit, right? Let us write purchase account. I'm telling you very easiest way. Purchase account debit 150. This is how we should have written. So we are writing purchase account debit, right? But what would have been debit? What has been debited here? RAM account has been debited instead of purchase account. So we need to rectify this debit. To rectify this debit, what we need to do? We need to credit RAM account 150. Clear? This is one. Next, we credited sales account. We credited sales account. We shouldn't have credited sales account. That has to be rectified. So if you want to rectify the credit, you need to debit. So sales account debit 150. Right? We have to credit RAM. We did not credit the RAM. So we need to credit the RAM to RAM account 150. See, I'll tell you one more. Here 2 times RAM not required. We need to club together and make it as 300. Let me tell you. I'll explain this. RAM account we have debited. Sales account we have credited. Right? Then purchase account. These are the 3 accounts got impacted. Now, RAM account we have to credit but we debited. So RAM account is debited. So we need to rectify this. If you want to rectify this 150, what you are supposed to do? You need to credit it. With 150, it is not possible because this and this will get knocked off. Where is the credit? So you need to put one more 150. So if you need to credit 300 in RAM account to rectify this. So to RAM account 300, to RAM account 300, and sales account is already credited here. This is not correct. So you need to rectify this. So you need to debit this. Credit, if you want to rectify the credit, you need to debit. So sales account is debited with 150. Clear? Then purchase account is not debited at all. That has to be debited. So purchase account is debited. So what is the entry? Purchase account debit, sales account debit, to RAM account 300. That is how the entry. Guys, this entry I will once again explain to you so that you will not commit any mistake in future. Let me tell you. Let me erase this and explain this to you properly. What did I say? They entered this as sales account. They purchased goods, but they entered this as sale. So they entered RAM account debit to sales account. This is the wrong entry. This is the wrong entry. Do you agree with me? What is the correct entry? What is the correct entry? Purchase account debit to RAM account. So RAM account debit, sales account credit is the wrong entry. Purchase account debit to RAM account is correct entry. This is the correct entry. Okay. If you are confused, simple. You prepare RAM account. Wrong entry is posted in debit side. Correct? Wrong entry is posted in debit side. Let us put debit 150. Then prepare sales account. Sales account is credited in wrong entry. So credit 150. Do you agree till this time? Right? Right. Next, what should have been the correct entry? Purchase account debit to RAM account. So purchase account we need to prepare. Is there any purchase account entry posted? Not posted. So now we have to rectify. How do we rectify? This 150 shouldn't have been there in debit side of the RAM account. This 150 should have been in credit side. But by mistake we debited this. If you want to rectify this 150 we need to credit. This 150 will allow us to knock off this wrong entry. But we have to credit another 150, right? So that another 150 will come over here. So that means RAM account is created with 300 in total. Clear? Next, sales account is 150 credited incorrectly. So that has to be debited to rectify this. Here there is no need to put another 150 because sale is wrong entry. So we are just rectifying this by debiting this. This 150 we need to debit. So this 300, this 150. Then purchase account should come debit 150. That is not posted. So now you tell me purchase account debit. Purchase account debit 150. Sales account debit 150. RAM account credit 300. To RAM account 300. This is how you need to rectify this. Clear? Right. Let me go to the next point. Let me erase this. Now, what is this second point? A credit sale of goods amounting to 120 to Ramesh has been wrongly passed through the purchase book. Here, quite opposite. Now, simple. A credit sale happened that has been incorrectly routed through purchase book. So they written in purchase book. Just because they written in purchase book, what entry would have been posted? Wrong entry. Purchase account debit 120 to Ramesh account, right? Ramesh account 120. This is the wrong entry. This is the wrong entry. What is the correct entry? This is a credit sale, right? So whenever there is a credit sale happens, what do? We debit Ramesh account and credit sales account. This is the correct entry. Now you tell me, you prepare the account. Purchase account. What did we do? Purchase account we debited. So let us put 120 debit. Then prepare Ramesh account. Ramesh account, what we did? We credited 120. But we should have debited. We should have debited Ramesh, but we credited. There is no entry happened in sales account because correct entry is sales. Wrong entry, there is no sale here. So we need to prepare a sales account. Now you start preparing the rectification. This purchase is wrong entry. This has to be rectified. So you need to credit purchase. This is the correct. You need to credit purchase. Next, Ramesh account is credited, but it should have been debited, but we credited. So if you want to rectify this, you need to debit 120. With this debit, this will get knocked off. But debit balance should be there in Ramesh account, right? For that, you need to bring another 120. So this is the entry to be posted in Ramesh account. Then sales account. Sales account is not credited. This has to be credited, right? That has not been done. So 120 sales account should come. Now you prepare the entry. Purchase account to be credited, to purchase 120. Sales account to be credited, to sales account 120. Ramesh account to be debited with the 240. So Ramesh account debit 240. This is the rectification. If you start thinking like this and start preparing your rectification entries, you will never commit a mistake. First, you need to write what is your wrong entry. Then put them in account wise. How this has been posted. Then you see what is the correct entry. A correct entry, Ramesh account is already there. No need to prepare another Ramesh account. So prepare a sales account. Prepare a sales account. Now you see debit is 120 debit, put 120 debit. Ramesh account credit 120, put credit 120. Now stop here. Then start thinking. Ramesh account is already there. Sales account is not there. So let us prepare one sales account. So 3 accounts you need to prepare. After preparing these 3, so purchase account shouldn't have been there. You know very well. So this has to be rectified. Purchase account shouldn't have been debit, right? So this has to be rectified. If you want to rectify this debit, you need to credit this. So we credited 120. Then Ramesh account is credited. This shouldn't have been credited. This should have been debited. So, but to rectify this, you need to put 120. Just by putting 120, this and this will get knocked off. Where is the debit balance in Ramesh account? Ramesh should have debit, right? So you need to bring another 120. So that means Ramesh account has to be debited with the 240. So then sales account that has not been posted at all. So you need to bring 120 in sales account. So I brought in 120 credit side. Now you see how the entry has to be. 120 is purchase credit. Ramesh account debit 240. Sales account credit 120. Matter over. This is how the entry has to be posted. Simple. You don't need no need to get confused, and you will never commit a mistake if you start preparing entry like this by drawing accounts, by drawing wrong entry, by preparing correct entry. You will never commit a mistake. Then move on to the next one. One second, guys. It is taking time to erase. Right now, third one. On 31st December 2020, goods of value 300 were returned by Harisaran and were taken inventory on the same date, but no entry was passed in the books. Harisaran returned the goods. That has not been posted. Simple. When somebody returned the goods, they are written inwards. Do you agree with me? They are written inwards. Why they are written inwards? We would have sold goods to Harisaran, and Harisaran is returning those goods to us because they are sales returns, or you call them as return inwards. So that entry has not been posted. You just need to post that entry. You don't require to post a wrong entry. You don't require to identify what is correct entry. You don't require to identify what is the rectifying entry because this entry has not been posted in the books at all. So now we are posting. Only one entry will come here. This is an exception. What entry we post? When the goods are returned. When the goods are returned, they are sales returns. They are supposed to be debited. So sales returns debit. Who returned these goods? Who is the giver? Harisaran. So Harisaran credit. That's all. This is the entry you need to post. See, return inwards account debit to Harisaran account. Clear? Right. Next one. An amount of 200 due from Mahesh Chand, which had been written off as bad debts in the previous year, was unexpectedly recovered and has been posted to the personal account of Mahesh Chand. Very important. What did he say? An amount of 200 due from Mahesh Chand. Mahesh Chand is supposed to pay 200 rupees to us previously, but we written off that amount. We thought Mahesh Chand is not going to pay, and we written off that. When we written off, what entry would have been written? That is what you need to understand. When we written off bad debts from Mahesh is supposed to pay, that we have decided he is not going to pay this amount, so let us write it off. So when we say Mahesh is supposed to pay that amount, That means he is a debtor in our books. Mahesh account will be showing as a debtor in our books. That means it is an asset. So Mahesh account must be showing a debit balance previously, and we have decided that he is not, is not going to pay this amount. Hence, we have decided to write off his amount. So when we have decided to write off his a balance, what entry we would have posted? Bad debts. Bad debts. We treated that as a bad debts. Bad debts is a loss to our business. All expenses and losses would be debited. So what entry we would have written is, we would have debited bad debts account and credited Mahesh Chand account. This entry would have been written previously. Now what happened? That got recovered. That got recovered. When it got recovered, what entry we are supposed to post? We are supposed to debit cash account and bad debts got recovered. Bad debts recovery account we need to put. This is the entry we are supposed to post when the bad debts got recovered, because bad debts we debited previously. Now they got recovered. Since they got recovered, we are getting cash, so cash account debit, and bad debts to be credited. So bad debts recovery account we need to credit. But what did they do? They and had been posted to personal account of Mahesh. What did they do is, see, they are supposed to credit bad debts recovery account, but they created to Mahesh account. You need to understand this story first. If you understand this story, these two entries, you can understand what would have been happened. That is the reason I explained these two. This is not wrong entry or correct entry or rectifying entry. I am explaining the history of this transaction. How this history would have happened when the bad debts happened from Mahesh, we would have written off that as a bad debts. Bad debts is a loss to our business. Hence, all expenses and losses to be debited. So bad debts I debited. Mahesh account why created? Why Mahesh account is to be created? Because Mahesh is supposed to pay. His account was showing a debit balance because it is recoverable from Mahesh. It is an asset, so that was showing a debit balance. Now we have decided that we have decided to write off that amount. If you have decided to write off, that account has to be created. So bad debts account debit and Mahesh account is credit. That was the entry we already posted previously. This is already posted. Now we written off this as bad debts previously. Now that has been recovered. When that has been recovered, we would be receiving the cash. So we need to debit cash account. And which account we are supposed to credit? Bad debts account we need to credit. Because there is no Mahesh account. Mahesh account is already knocked off. So we need to credit to bad debts recovery account. Are you getting my point? So cash account debit to bad debts recovery account entry would have been written by us. But what did they do? Now I'm going to explain what entry, wrong entry they have written here is. Now I'm telling you wrong entry. Wrong entry was cash account debit to Mahesh account, Mahesh Chand. So how much is the amount? 200. 200. This is the wrong entry. What is the correct entry? Cash account debit to bad debts recovery account. 200. 200. This is the correct entry. Correct entry. Now we need to prepare the rectification entry. What rectification entry we are supposed to put? Cash debited in wrong entry, but in correct entry also cash account is debit, so there is no issue here. There is no need to worry about cash. Which account they incorrectly created? Mahesh account. So now Mahesh account has to be rectified. If you want to credit this rectify credit, you need to debit. So Mahesh account debit 200. What account we are supposed to credit? Bad debts recovery account. So that has not been created. Now we are creating the bad debts recovery account 200. So these are the three entries you need to prepare. If you want to prepare these three entries, you should know the story of this. You should know the history of these two. That is the reason I explained these two entries. Once again, I am explaining you. Whenever there is a amount recoverable to be received from Mahesh account would be showing a debit balance. Now we have decided that debit is not going to come. Since the debit is not going to come, we have decided to write it off as a bad debt. This is a history I am talking. So bad debts we debited. Why we debited bad debts? Because it is loss. So all expenses and losses to be debited as per nominal account. So bad debts account debited. Why Mahesh account is created? It was showing a debit balance. Now we have decided that Mahesh is not going to pay this amount, hence we created Mahesh account. So this was the entry previously posted. Now what happened? All of a sudden Mahesh paid that amount. When he paid that amount, we have to debit the cash account because cash is coming in. So cash account has to be debited, right? Cash account debited. Which account has to be created? We should not credit Mahesh account. Why? Mahesh account was already considered as a bad debt that was written off here. We created Mahesh account. There is no balance in Mahesh account now. If you credit Mahesh account, what will happen? Mahesh will become creditor. Again, you need to pay back that amount to Mahesh. Are you ready to pay that amount to Mahesh? No, right? So you should not credit Mahesh account. But which account we need to credit? Then you need to credit bad debts recovery account. Why? Because previously we have written that as bad debts. Now we are recovering. Hence we are going to credit that as a bad debts recovery. So this history, if you know, these entries will be easy for you to do that. So now, since you know about this history, first, what wrong entry they posted? They debited cash account and they created Mahesh account. This is the wrong entry they posted. So wrong entry, cash account debit, Mahesh account credit. What is the correct entry? Cash account debit, bad debts recovery account is the correct entry, right? Then what should be the rectification entry? There is no issue in cash. Cash here it is wrong entry debit, correct entry also debit. So there is no issue in debit. So let us ignore that cash. Now, what entry they wrongly created? Mahesh account. That has to be corrected. How do we correct the wrong credit? By debiting. So Mahesh account is debited. Clear? Then which account is supposed to be created? Bad debts recovery account. So let us create bad debts recovery account. So Mahesh account debit to bad debts recovery account is the correct entry. Are you clear on this point? Right. Let me erase this. Then we will move on to the next one. Here, a check of 100 rupees received from Manmohan was dishonored and has been posted to the debit of sales returns account. Guys, these entries are very, very important. And that is the reason I'm picking up these transactions from Institute material. They give fantastic, transactions. See, a check of 100 rupees received from Manmohan was dishonored and had been posted the debit of sales returns account. You need to understand the history, like the way that I explained the previous entry. I'm going to explain now. When the check received and deposited in bank, what entry we would have written? First, you should know about that. If you don't know about the transaction, you can't pass the rectification entry, take my word. What would have happened in historic data? So a check received from Manmohan, correct? That has been deposited in bank. What entry we would have written that time? Bank account is the receiver. The check we deposited in bank. So bank is the receiver. You need to debit bank account to Manmohan account. This entry would have been written previously. I'm not talking about wrong entry. I'm not talking about a correct entry. I'm not talking about rectification entry. I'm talking about a historic, entries. What would have happened when the check received from Manmohan and deposited in bank? That time we would have debited bank account and we would have created Manmohan account. Number one. After that, what happened? This check got dishonored. Dishonored means the check got returned. So there were no funds available. So they dishonored the check. When they dishonored the check, what entry we are supposed to do? We just need to reverse this entry as is. Why we need to reverse? Because we created Manmohan as if he paid, but he did not pay. So again, you need to debit back Manmohan account. So Manmohan account debit to bank account. When the check got dishonored, this is the entry to be posted. Are you getting my point? Again, I'm asking you the question. Why did we debit Manmohan? Because Manmohan account previously created as if he paid this check, but the check did not get realized. Since the check did not get realized, you should not create Manmohan. You need to debit. So that is the reason Manmohan account is debited. And bank account we debited as if the funds are available in the bank. Now funds are not available. Check got dishonored. So since check got dishonored, we should not have a debit balance. We need to rectify this. So we would have created bank. This entry would have been posted when the check got dishonored. When the check got dishonored, this entry would have been posted. But what did they do? Posted to the debit of sales returns account. So instead of Manmohan account debiting, what entry they debited is sales returns account they debited. Sales returns account debit to bank account they have written 100. This is the wrong entry. What is the wrong entry? They are supposed to debit Manmohan account, but they debited sales returns. So sales returns account debit to bank account. This is the wrong entry. What is the correct entry? Correct entry is Manmohan account debit to bank account. This is the correct entry. So bank, there is no issue. Here also created, in wrong entry also bank account was created. Correct entry also bank account was created. So there is no issue in bank. Ignore this. This bank credit, here also bank credit, there is no issue. That has been correctly booked. So let us ignore this bank. What has been debited previously? Sales returns. That shouldn't have been debited. So this is incorrectly debited. So since it is incorrectly debited, to rectify, what you are supposed to do, you need to credit it. So to sales returns account, you need to credit 100. Manmohan account is supposed to be debited. Have you debited Manmohan account? No. So now you need to debit Manmohan account 100. This is the rectifying entry. This is rectifying entry. Manmohan account debit to sales returns account. This is how the entries are supposed to be posted. Are you clear? These are beautiful illustration, guys. Good, subject has been given in this. You need to think about the historic transactions before posting. What would have happened, and what was the wrong entry? What should have been the correct entry? How this, rectification entry can be posted. Once you know the historic data, you can easily post these rectification entries. That is the reason I took time, though there are only 5 points, but I took time to explain this in detail so that you will never commit these kind of mistakes in future. Or you will also get to know how to rectify them in the future in case if these kind of mistakes happen. Right? I hope you understand the concept. If you like the concept, I request you to uh, like the video and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Right? Thank you so much.